Okay, so today we're uh, diving into a place that I think has captured a lot of people's imaginations.
Hmm.
Bangalore, India.
Yeah.
Bengaluru, right?
Bangalore.
Yeah, let's mess that up.
Yeah, it's, either or is fine, actually.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
People use them interchangeably.
Yeah.
So, you've brought this really interesting conversation to the table,
Yeah.
and we really want to pull out the most interesting stuff from it and give our listeners a good feel for what this city is all about.
Yeah, absolutely.
And not just like bombard them with details, but give them a real understanding of,
A real deep dive
yeah, a real deep
into
dive.
this fascinating city.
So we know that it's got this huge reputation as like a tech hub,
Mm.
and that definitely comes through in the conversation.
Yeah.
But we also see that there's so much more to it than just that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Um, so where do you think we should start? Like, what's the first thing that pops out at you from this conversation?
Well, I mean, you can't talk about Bangalore without acknowledging that Silicon Valley of India label, right?
Right. Yeah.
And the conversation definitely supports that image. I mean, it mentions like big names, right?
Mm.
Infosys, Wipro,
Yeah.
these are like the Indian tech giants.
Uh-huh.
And then you have like Google and Microsoft, these global players who have also set up shop there.
Right. It's not just a local phenomenon. It's like
Exactly.
a global hub.
Yeah, it's on the world stage.
Yeah. And I think maybe for someone who hasn't like really looked into Bangalore,
Mm-hmm.
they might just assume it's always been this tech city.
Right. They might think that's all there is to it.
Yeah, but the conversation hints at a much longer history.
Oh, yeah, a much deeper story for sure.
Yeah, and so I think that's what I found really interesting was that, like you said, we tend to think of it as this tech mecca.
Mm-hmm.
But long before the IT boom, the city had a foundation in other things like traditional manufacturing,
Yeah.
a big emphasis on education,
Right.
and even like defense research.
Yeah, it wasn't just all about computers from the get-go.
No. And that's what makes it so interesting, right? Like it wasn't like a sudden transformation. It was built on this.
It was built on a foundation
Yeah.
of, skills and resources, and that's probably why it was able to transition so well into the tech world.
Exactly. And there's a mention of ISRO in there, the
Cool.
Indian Space Research Organization.
It's like they've been doing pioneering work in space for decades.
Like way before software became the big thing.
Exactly. So that shows you that this culture of problem solving, this kind of technical expertise
It was already there.
was already present in the city's DNA.
Right. So it's not like it came out of nowhere. It was kind of like a natural progression in a way.
Exactly, a continuation of the spirit of innovation.
Yeah. So, I mean, that really adds a whole other layer to how we understand the city, right?
It definitely does, yeah.
And then you layer on top of that this really deep historical background.
Oh, yeah, it goes way back.
The conversation mentions Kempegoda, who actually founded the city way back when.
Yeah, in the 16th century.
Yeah, and the British influence, of course, which is, a big part of India's history.
Right.
So it's not just about the code being written today. It's about all of these layers
Yeah.
of history that have shaped it.
Centuries of influences coming together.
Yeah. So how do you think, knowing all that, how do you think that impacts the city today?
Well, I think those historical influences are still visible.
You think so?
Oh, yeah. I mean, in the urban layout, the architecture,
Oh, interesting.
even in the mindset of the people you know.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and this brings up a fascinating question. Like, how do you think all these different eras, the historical, the industrial, the technological, how do they intertwine in modern Bangalore?
Yeah. It's almost like they're all kind of like woven together, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think that's what makes it so fascinating.
Yeah, it's a city of contrasts.
Yeah. The conversation talks about how you can be walking down the street and see these modern skyscrapers,
Mm-hmm.
and then suddenly there's like an old temple.
Or palace, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Just like tucked away.
Like a hidden gem.
Yeah. Like it's embracing the future, but it's also holding on to its past.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes it so unique. You don't see that everywhere.
And specifically, they mentioned Bangalore Palace
Yeah.
and Tipu Sultan's Summer Palace.
Beautiful places, steeped in history.
Yeah, that must be so cool to see.
It is. It's like stepping back in time.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's what makes it so much more than just a tech city.
Exactly.
It's got that depth.
It's got layers.
Yeah, and it's not all concrete and coding either, right?
Yeah, no.
The conversation mentioned some really cool green spaces,
Yeah.
like Lalbao Botanical Garden.
Oh, beautiful place.
I've seen pictures. It's amazing.
An oasis in this city.
With like a glass house and everything. Right?
Yeah, a beautiful glass house with all sorts of exotic plants.
Oh, wow.
It's really a special place.
Yeah. And then Cubbon Park, which is just like a great place to chill out.
Yeah, just relax. Like escape the hustle and bustle.
Yeah. Yeah. So it seems like they really value that kind of natural environment,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
even amidst all the development.
It's about finding that balance, between the urban and the natural.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that's really important for the quality of life in a city like Bangalore.
Yeah. And speaking of nature, the conversation also talks about lakes.
Oh, yeah, Bangalore has a lot of lakes.
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it's known as the City of Lakes.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I did not know that.
Alsor Lake is one of the biggest.
Yeah.
You can even go boating there.
That sounds really nice, actually.
Yeah, it's a popular spot.
And Sankey Tank.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, another big one. And then there are a bunch of smaller lakes scattered around the city.
So it's not just like a few token lakes. It's like part of the landscape.
It's part of the fabric of the city.
Yeah. And that's cool.
Yeah, it adds to the charm.
Yeah, definitely.
And, these lakes are not just pretty to look at.
Right.
They play a crucial role in the ecosystem.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Managing water resources, providing habitats for wildlife, and even regulating the microclimate.
It's like a whole interconnected system.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it adds another dimension to Bangalore beyond just the tech side of things.
It's a reminder that nature is always present, even in a bustling metropolis.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, let's switch gears a bit
Sure.
and talk about food.
Oh, yeah.
Because the conversation really paints Bangalore as a food lover's paradise.
It is, yeah.
And there's this one dish that seems like a must-try.
The masala dosa
Yes,
at Vidyarthi Bhavan.
at Vidyarthi Bhavan. Okay, so that's the place to go.
That's the spot. Yeah, it's like an institution.
Really?
Yeah, people rave about it.
So if you go to Bangalore, you have to try the masala dosa at Vidyarthi Bhavan.
It's like a rite of passage.
Okay, noted.
Yeah.
I'm adding that to my list.
Good choice.
And for the coffee lovers out there.
Yes.
And I know there are many.
There are many.
Bangalore seems to be the place for filter coffee.
Oh, yeah. Filter coffee is huge there.
It's like a local specialty.
It's more than just a drink. It's like a ritual.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. People gather in the morning, have their filter coffee. It's a social thing.
Like a cultural experience?
Exactly.
So it's not just about the caffeine, it's about the whole experience.
It's about connecting with people and savoring the moment.
That's cool.
Yeah.
But okay, so what if you're not into like the local cuisine?
Well, you're still in luck because Bangalore has a really diverse food scene.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. You can find anything you want there.
So like international stuff too.
Yeah. Chinese, Italian, Japanese.
Wow.
Name it, they've got it.
Okay, so you can get your fancy restaurant experience?
Yeah.
But you can also find like amazing street food.
Oh, the street food is incredible.
Yeah, I've heard that Indian street food is amazing.
It is. Yeah, it's a whole other level.
So whatever your taste or your budget, you're covered.
Exactly. Bangalore caters to everyone.
Okay, but now let's talk about the not so glamorous side of things.
Oh, yeah.
Getting around.
Right.
Because the conversation doesn't shy away from the fact that traffic in Bangalore can be a bit of a nightmare,
Yeah, it can be a challenge.
especially during rush hour, right?
Yeah. Peak hours can be pretty bad.
It's like any big city that's growing quickly, I guess.
Yeah, that's a common problem, unfortunately.
So is it just like gridlock everywhere?
Well, it can get pretty congested in certain areas. Mm-hmm. But the good news is they've been working on improving the transportation system, and they've made some significant progress with the metro.
Well, the metro.
Yeah, the metro system has been a game changer.
That's great.
Yeah, it's a much more efficient way to get around, especially on those busy roads.
So that's good to know.
Yeah, and they're expanding it all the time.
So hopefully that'll alleviate some of the traffic issues.
That's the goal.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
So beside the metro, what are the other options?
Well, you've got your usual suspects,
Okay.
bikes, autos, buses,
Okay.
cabs.
So the usual suspects, yeah.
Yeah, but the metro is definitely the most efficient option for now.
Yeah. Okay, so if you're visiting Bangalore, you might want to stick to the metro.
Yeah, especially if you're on a tight schedule.
Yeah, good advice.
Yeah.
So now let's talk about something else that Bangalore is known for.
What's that?
Education.
Oh, yeah. Right?
It's like a hub for learning.
Yeah, it has a lot of prestigious institutions.
Yeah, the conversation mentions like ISE.
The Indian Institute of Science.
Yeah, and IM Bangalore.
Indian Institute of Management.
Like these are like the top tier.
Yeah, they're world renowned.
Yeah, so if you're thinking about higher education, Bangalore is definitely a place to consider.
Definitely.
And that probably explains why there's such a skilled workforce there for the tech industry.
Yeah. I mean, having those top institutions right there.
Right in the city.
Yeah, it creates this whole ecosystem of learning and innovation.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So what about the people?
The people.
Yeah, like what are they like?
Well, from what I gather, they're incredibly welcoming.
Really?
Yeah, and it's a really diverse mix. Have locals, of course,
Hmm.
but also people who've moved there from all over India.
Yeah,
So it's a real melting pot of cultures.
that's cool.
Yeah, it's a vibrant community.
And language-wise.
Well, Canada is the main language spoken in the state,
Right.
but in Bangalore itself, English and Hindi are widely spoken.
No, that's good to know.
Yeah, so it's pretty easy to get by.
Even if you don't know Canada.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's really
It
normal.
makes it more accessible.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And finally, let's talk about the cultural scene.
Ah, yes.
The conversation mentions a bunch of festivals.
Yeah, they love their festivals in Bangalore.
Like Diwali,
Yeah, Diwali is huge.
Dussehra,
Another big one.
and Ugadi, which is the Canada New Year.
Right.
But it's not just about the traditional festivals.
Right.
There are also music festivals.
Yeah.
And tech festivals.
Oh, yeah, they have some really cool tech events.
So it's like a blend of the old and the new.
Exactly.
That's what keeps coming up, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the theme that runs through everything in Bangalore.
Yeah, so it's like this constant interplay between tradition and modernity.
It's a city that embraces both.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes it so dynamic and exciting.
Definitely. Yeah.
So to kind of wrap things up,
Yeah.
it seems like Bangalore is so much more than just the Silicon Valley of India.
It is, yeah.
It's got this incredible blend of technology history, nature, food, culture.
It's a multifaceted city.
Yeah, and a really diverse and welcoming population.
Yeah, the people are really what make it special.
So it really does seem like, as the conversation says, that Bangalore offers something for everyone.
I think that's a pretty accurate assessment.
Yeah, and it leaves me wondering, with everything that's going on there, with the tech, the education, the culture, like what kind of impact do you think Bangalore will have on the world in the coming years?
That's a great question.
Like a city on the rise, right?
Yeah, it's a city to watch for sure.
So I'm really curious to see what the future holds for Bangalore.
Me too. Yeah.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. But I think this deep dive has only just scratched the surface.
Yeah, there's so much more to explore.
So we encourage everyone to go out there and learn more about Bangalore.
Yeah, it's a fascinating place.
And who knows, maybe one day we'll do another deep dive into this incredible city.
I'd be up for that.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll see you next time.
See you later.